How you doing? I'd like to tell you about a very special guy, a man named Herm, who helped me grow up and become a man. And I met Herm at a very young age. I was about 7, 8 years old. It was about a year or so after my dad passed away, and he was my mom's boyfriend. And when he first came over, me and my sister were not happy about that. We were not looking for a replacement for dad. I think in many ways we were still waiting for him to come home. Um, and when he came over for a barbecue, me and my sister decided to try to scare him off. And right from the rip, as we sat down to dinner, we started making burp noises and fart noises and picking our nose and just acting like a bunch of jackasses trying to be rude and scare him away. And my mom wanted to kill us. But of course, she can't choke you to death in front of her new boyfriend. That would be a little awkward. And she was just staring laser beams at us. And finally, Herm, about halfway through dinner, said goodbye and got up and left. And me and my sister thought we did it. We thought we scared him away and we'd never see him again. But Herm, we later found out, didn't leave because he was grossed out or offended. He left out of respect because he knew we just weren't ready for him. We weren't ready for him to be in our lives. And he wanted to come back, and he did come back a couple of weeks later when we were ready and more receptive to the idea. And thank God he did, because over the years he became my best friend. Um, Growing up, I was bullied, and Herm was always there for me. In fact, he gave me my first nickname. He used to call me the Golden Moose. Yes, back then I had long blonde hair. It was gorgeous, uh, delightful. And I was sometimes called the Golden One, or more commonly, Moosey. Moosey, let's go. And he would always be yelling and screaming at me, and he taught me how to play sports. I had no idea how to play sports before, and he showed me how to do baseball. And as I got older and I got into football, he started teaching me how to play football, how to block, how to tackle. Of course, all in the backyard and live. He was not pulling any punches, and our relationship just became very special. And then one day, out of the blue, my mom broke up with him. He had asked her to marry him. She didn't want to do that. I'm not quite sure of all the reasons. That never really came out. And I thought, my goodness, this is disaster. First I lose my dad, now I lose Herm. And it was gut-wrenching. But when they broke up, he sat me down and he said, listen, your mom and I aren't going to be a thing anymore. But that's not going to impact my relationship with you. I'm still going to be here for you. I'm still going to be your friend. And I was taken aback by this. I said, okay, let's see how this turns out. And sure enough, he stayed in my life. And I remember, going to playing football. He came to every game. And then afterwards, he'd take us all out to dinner. Him and my mom were still friends. It was not a hostile breakup by any means. But we'd go to the diner. And in the diner, he'd critique my performance. He'd say, Moosey, you're not getting enough pass rush. And he'd say, stand up. And we'd stand up in the middle of the diner. And he'd say, when you play football, you got to get pissed. And he'd jack me up in the middle of the diner. He said, when you jack him up and he starts leaning forward, you pull him forward and you swim move. And Herm's demonstrating the swim move. It's a pass rush technique for non-football people in the middle of the freaking diner. And people are terrified. I was a big kid at that time. I was 6'3", 230, and he's about 6'5", 250. And we're just duking it out in the middle of the friggin' diner. Nobody got up and stopped us. And my mom, of course, was dying. My sister thought it was hilarious. And that's how I learned how to pass rush, in the Sayville Townhouse Diner. And it was just an absolutely phenomenal, loving relationship. And even after my mom passed, he was there for us all throughout college. He'd come visit me in college and take me out to dinner and send me care packages and just be there to talk, and always be there to talk and to listen. And one day I get a call, and he calls me up. He says, Moosey, it's Herm. I said, of course it's you. Who else would it be? Who else calls me Moosey? And he says, I got good news and bad news. He says, my daughter Tina, she's getting married, and you're invited. I said, great. What's the bad news? He goes, I got stage 4 cancer. I'm going to die soon. And that took me aback. And his clock was ticking. And thank God he was going to get to see his daughter get married and have that very, very special day with her. His daughter Tina, an unbelievable woman, and her husband Fernando. And it was a great honor to me that I was going to get to be a part of that. You know, me and my wife Amy. And we go to the wedding, and you could see that Herm was not quite fitting into his suit at this point. You know, he was losing a good bit of weight. And I was very honored to be sitting next to him when we sat down for dinner. And he was still drinking his Beefeater Martini and Beck's beer, right? What the hell? Let's go out with a drink in our hand. And he goes, Moosey, you got to watch my back. I said, what are you talking about? Watch your back. What's your daughter's wedding? And I said, well, what the heck's going on? And he says, my brother, he's out to get me. And I think I saw him looking at me before, and I think he's going to start some trouble. I said, trouble? What are you talking about? Now Herm was actually much older than my mother, and he must have been in his 60s, and his brother was older than him. And I said, what are you talking about? You're going to get into a fight with your brother at your daughter's wedding? And almost on cue, his brother comes running over and confronts Herm. And instinctively, I jump between the two to try to break up this fight. And his brother screams, oh, you brought your goon to fight your battles for you. And Herm jumps over the top. I don't need anybody to kick your ass. And they start swinging at each other. And I get punched in the face. And my goodness, and I go to break up the fight, and I bump into his brother, and my shoulder hits him in the jaw. And his teeth fall out. And finally I get pissed. I say, you're dying of cancer. You don't even have your own teeth. And you're at your Tina's wedding. What the hell is all this crap? And we finally break them up. And they get separated. And I pull Herm off to another room to calm down a little bit. And as we're there, I start laughing to myself. I say, hey, you know what? I go, this was really stupid. I go, but in a way it was kind of nice. I finally got to pay you back a little bit for all the times you were there for me, for all the times I needed help and you had my back. I go, it was great that I could have your back for once and do something for you. And he says, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, I had your back not because I ever wanted payback or expected anything from you in return. I did that because it was the right thing to do, because I was teaching you how to be a man. And the last lesson is, you don't pay me back. You go and pay that forward. You go out and serve. You go out and teach kids. You go out and be a man of your community. You go out and be a great father and a great husband. And you go out and take care of people the way I took care of you. And that was the last lesson from Herm. And after that, I hugged him and kissed him. We went back to the wedding, and he danced the night away with his daughter. They had a beautiful time. And a few weeks later, he passed away. And Herm, rest in peace, was one of the best men I ever met. And I hope I could live up to his example.